Hi guys, so we're here with a new video, and this video will be my should you main priest in WoW Dragonflight PvP, and this is my fifth video about this series, and I must say every video I'm making, it makes even the choices I would make even harder, because every time there's a lot of sick specs, so much sick design around those specs. It becomes very hard for me to actually decide which ones I'm going to main. Of course, Dragonflight is super alt friendly, so you could also just take a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth main and still be able to have the gear that you need to PvP. So that's really great. Me myself, I think I'm going to play 6 characters like all the time. I might switch off, switch on some characters whenever I feel like some classes or specs will be more interesting for me to make videos, or more interesting for me in arenas or RPGs. But let's start right away with Priest, and we are going to talk about the class tree, what is new, what is actually looking like good design or not. I'm going to talk about specific spells on the talent tree, and which I'm super happy to see. So now we have a Prayer of Mending, we have Flash Heal, of course, and Renew available for every spec, which is quite nice because it gives you some flavor, but also just availability to use spells that you already had in different expansions. So I feel like it's already very great to play around that. There's also multiple ways to actually play those classes and those specs because of this class tree. The left side is more about holy, the middle side is more about disc priest, and the right side is more about shadow priest. And you could mix match. As a holy priest, you could even go a bit more further and beyond and try to get as much shadow-esque feeling to your holy priest. So you could be actually doing a lot of damage with mind games. Having void shift as a healer is pretty big. Of course, you will have to sacrifice a lot of things, but having void shift as a whole is a big plus for the class itself, because it was a PvP talent for shadow priests. Mind games returning as a spell, which is a fan favorite, also very fun to play also against. It might be frustrating to see a mind games pop up in double DPS, but I feel like whenever you're playing trees and you're mind gaming, I mean, there is a mini game going on where you need to dispel ASAP, or maybe outplay it and even doing over the top damage or over the top healing to heal through or damage through the mind games. You also have Vampiric Embrace, which is super nice also for Disc Priest, because you can play more of a shadow, a spec, more shadow design where you're more aggressive, and by being more aggressive you should be able to heal your nearby allies with shadow spells, so that could be also very nice. You also get a movement speed slow on your mind blast critical strikes, which is quite nice for shadow priest as a whole. And yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with how the class design and how the class trees are looking for, and also just in general I feel like Disc Priest will be more fun with that class tree than it ever had, and the same for Holy Priest. I feel like Holy Priest will have more flavor. Having Mass Dispel and improve Mass Dispel on the class tree is something very interesting, because again, it opens up a PvP talent, especially versus paladins, but you don't really have to play Mass Dispel. You can also just remove it whenever you feel like you're playing versus classes that don't need to get Mass Dispels. Dispelled, for example. You also have Leap of Faith with, of course, the conduit also implemented with move with grace, so you have a 1 minute CD on Leap of Faith, so that's also very nice. Oh, or excuse me, it is not the case. It's a 2 minute CD. It becomes a 1.5 minute CD with move with grace, which is still very nice. You also have the legendary coming back with which gives you power infusion whenever you're power infusioning someone else. So whenever you're playing with a warlock and you PI that warlock, you also get a PI on yourself. So it becomes also very fun to actually use PI on someone else, because you will also have the benefit. While before you had to PI the warlock without having a benefit by yourself, so now it's also very fun to play around that. Mind control coming back, of course. You also have psychic voice, reducing the psychic scream CD to 30 seconds, which is quite nice as a healer as a whole. You also have Shadow Word Death again coming back, but also with Death and Madness. So if it fails to kill the target, you can get it back. So in PvP, it's quite nice to have a burst section where you could do some sick amounts of damage. Something new also on the class tree, you have the reverse power word shadow word death. It will be power word life. So basically, the lower the health, so whenever you're lower than 35% health, you will get a bigger power word life heal, and the cooldown of power word life is reduced by 20 seconds. So you have a crap button to press to actually survive, but also just to maintain the health of your teammates. And also having it on a 10-second CD whenever you're using it on lower than 35% health means that you have multiple crap buttons, which is super great, because if it's a burst meta, you would have to have tools to actually answer to that meta. But it also means that you have to sacrifice other things, like for example mind games or void shift. So you have to make choices. You cannot go left and then also go right and also have void shift. You will have to go middle and then go void shift, or you'll have to go right to get mind games with your power word life. I'm going to give you an example. Whenever, like now, I'm playing a disc aggro talent tree. Whenever I'm going to the disc aggro talent tree, I will have mind games, and whenever I'm going for disc passive, I will get the power word life. So I feel like if I'm playing versus people that are very hard to actually heal through, I would then play with power word life. And if I feel like I have more agency to do damage, I would then go for a more disciplined aggro playstyle with mind games. And that is actually how it's supposed to be. So you have to have tools to react on certain situations. And I feel like that's a very fun design as a whole. So class tree priest is super awesome. Now let's talk about disc priest. And you already saw the disc priest talents. Whenever I'm switching from aggro to passive, a lot of things, a lot of placements are actually switching. So now on the aggro side, whenever I'm playing more aggro, I would go for the right side, which is more of the shadowy damage healing aspect of the disc priest. The left side is more about the healing and the shielding, and the middle is more about that holy radiant damage with Light's Wrath, with the amount of healing you can do with penance, or with like you're doing shadow damage, you will improve your holy spell casts, and vice versa. So you have a lot of flavor just with that tree, but it's a good complement with the priest class tree. So what is returning, what is actually going away? To be honest, not a lot of things are going away for priest. I feel like you're winning a lot more than losing. So the things that are coming back are Schism. You have Shadow Covenant, which also improves with Twilight Corruption. So basically, you will be able to have benefit with Penance. So that's quite nice. You also have some Mind Blast activation, Atonement activation with Mind Blast being improved. You still have Lenience, which is a talent that you actually never changed in Shadowlands. Now you have it as a talent, which is not really a capstone in my opinion. You could see it as a capstone, this row, but I would say that this row is more the capstone for discipline. I would arguably say harsh discipline is by itself a capstone, because every time you're healing with atonement, you will get a stack, and whenever you have 100 stacks, you will get your next penance is free and fires 3 additional bolts, which is basically the legendary that you had in Shadowlands at the last seasons, I would say. You have Mindbender, which is on a 1 minute CD, which you could even be lower with Inescapable Torment and Void Stamina. So basically, you will have never really a mana problem with a Discipline Priest now, because you could go for the right side and you will have more damage, you will have more Mindbender usage, and just in general, you will have some healthy mana to play around, depending on the meta, of course. If it's really bursty, you will have to heal more, which means that you will have to spend more mana. And if you are actually playing more passive games, you have more ability to deal damage, to heal through atonement, and then you will manage your mana really easily with Mindbender. And that's quite nice because you still have Power Word Barrier, you still have Rapture with an improvement on Rapture with Exaltation. You have still castigation. Um, you have still powered Radiance playstyle with a PvP talent as well, so that's also very fine. Power of the Dark Side is still there with Dark Indulgence, so you have a lot of great things to play around, but also to just use and have fun with it. And the main goal of Disc Priest is to have fun while healing, even though you are a DPS main. I feel like Restoration Shaman and Discipline Priest are those two specs are very nice to play whenever you are tired of waiting for a healer and you are a DPS main. You can still do some DPS things with that spec, and I feel like that liberty that you have with that spec is something that is very appreciated by the community. I feel like discipline priests don't really have the amount of hate that holy priest had in past expansions, but I'm going to talk about holy priest after this segment. On the left side, you have now Light's Wrath coming back, which is a fan favorite ability. Although myself, I prefer to not use that. I prefer to use other spells, especially it's a 2 second cast without haste. If you have haste, it's a bit better. It does some alright damage. I think it's going to do a lot of damage. And you could do a smite build. So if you're going for the left side on the priest build, a priest tree, you can do for some 6 smite synergies with let's say Surge of Light again, a spamming smite getting you a free flash heals, for example. And you can go on the left side on the discipline priest tree to get more smite usage, but also more damage on smite. With wheel and woo, your penance bolts increase the damage of your next smite by 12%, which is stackable 7 times. And if you have like harsh discipline, it's very easy to stack that because one penance bolt, one penance spell, one penance usage, excuse me, I cannot even speak anymore, will result with 7 penance bolts. So basically, whenever you get harsh discipline proc, you will get a wheel and woe stacked smite, and it will do a lot of damage. I also tried it out. I think the main thing is it's very hard to try it out completely on the pre-patch because you are not level 70, so you will not have a lot of points into harsh of discipline. I think you have only 1 point whenever you're going for will and woe, and you need to sacrifice a lot of talents to get there. But I feel like it's very fun to play around with discipline priest, and just for that I would suggest you guys to actually main discipline priest before even talking about PvP talents. I feel like discipline priest is one of those classes that benefits from the expansion swap. It did change a lot for the better, and I would say that from Shadowlands to Dragonflight, it is only a positive, and there is like no real negative talking about Discipline Priest. I feel like the only negative that I could talk about is if you're playing a Night Fae Discipline Priest, you're going to lose the Fae Guardians. You're going to lose the obvious strength that Discipline Priest had at in the last season, where you could really be obnoxious and unkillable. Now it's not happening, so it's for the better for me, but maybe for you guys it's not going to be for the better. You will also see that you will lack some points to get some specific abilities. Like for example, I went to the right, and of course I'm still level 60, but I don't have Purge the Wicked. Maybe some people would not like to play without Purge the Wicked. For me, it doesn't really matter that much. But in general, I'm very happy with this tree. I'm even going to show you guys my disc passive tree and how different it is with this tree. I think the main things that are going to stay is mainly the harsh discipline talent with Twilight Equilibrium, because I like to play aggressively. And I would suggest to be, if you're level 70, to just not go for Light's Wrath. I would just go for Sins of the Many and Will and Woo, and pretty much you will do same kind of damage, but not with shadow, but more with a holy ability. So by itself it's also nice, but if you get kicked on holy, you are having a bad time actually healing targets, because you don't have the flash heal equivalent, but in shadow it's gone anymore. I don't even know. Shadowman, excuse me, Shadowman is gone now, so you only have flash heal. So if you're getting kicked on flash heal, you will have little to no healing outside of your atone healing with mind blast, for example. So that's why I would suggest to go for the shadow side, so you can still heal with shadow covenant and your penance. So if your penance is shadow with your shadow covenant, it doesn't really matter if you're getting kicked on holy, because you still are able to penance the way out of there. So all in all, I'm very happy with the discipline priest side. You see, you can really go further into the holy side to actually do a lot of healing passively, actively, but you can also go for a more aggressive take with the right side. So by itself, I'm very, very happy with how it looks. Now let's talk about the PvP talents. I can talk about everything. I can talk about Eternal Rest. I can talk about Cardinal Mending. But really, the one talent I want to talk about is Catharsis. So 20% of all damage you take is stored. So it makes it a bit harder to actually go for you, because, I mean, if you want to get bursted, that is going to happen, right? So the stored amount cannot exceed 15% of your maximum health. So if you have 100k health, you will have 15k stored up unto you. And whenever you're doing a Purge the Wicked or Shadow Word Pain, you will have the increased damage on the initial cost. So you could do some insane burst potential whenever someone is low HP and you know they went on you, you know how much catharsis damage you have. You can really burst someone with Shadow Mind Blast, Penance, and then I would just Shadow Word Pain and then Shadow Word Death, and probably he will die within the 5 seconds. Or even if I have a Mind Games up, I would just do Mind Games instead of Mind Blast, and you will do a lot of damage just by that amount. I already talked a lot about Priest and about Discipline Priest, but I'm going to take some tempo and talk about Holy Priest. I already talked about the Priest tree, now we are going to talk about the Holy tree, and I'm going to talk about the things I'm very excited for Holy. The good thing is there is a negative thing, but I feel like it's improving your skill. So now you have to actually choose between Miracle Worker, which was a PvP talent, and Restitution. So basically being able to revive with your Spirit of Redemption. So whenever you're dying, you get Spirit of Redemption, and the amount of healing you're producing with the Spirit of Redemption will give it you back whenever you're resing back with Spirit of Redemption. Now it's gone. Now you will have to choose between Restitution and Miracle Worker. And I feel like a lot of people will have to choose for Miracle Worker, because you will feel the stack, the lost stack from Serenity and Sanctify. So I feel like that's much, much better, and you will have to make a choice. And if you're resing back, then it's all good, but you know that you are going to be in trouble if you don't have the amount of healing. Now, the thing I'm very, very positive about and super excited about is a Holy Fire build. So playing with Imperial Blaze, excuse me, is amazing. So you refresh Holy Fire, your next 3 casts of Holy Fire cost no mana, incur no cooldown, and cast instantly. So basically you can burst someone super quickly, because let's say Holy Fire does 9k damage, more or less, with the amount of health you have right now, and it will crit for 15k times 3, so you will do 45k holy fires. And especially if you're building around haste, your GCDs will be low, so you can do some amount of damage that is actually unhealable for the common healer, especially if you have a DPS partner. In arenas, you can do some sick synergies, some sick goes, some 1, 2, 3 goes with, let's say, your rogue mage. You can do some real unhealable damage with that ability. Also, the stun is coming back. I think it's still nerfed in PvP. I think it's still 3 seconds instead of 4. So I think it's also a good thing. Here you have Guardian Spirit, and you have also a choice to make. You can either just play the way you already had with your Holy Priest, so it will reduce the cooldown if it's not saving the target. So that's cool. But you can also have Guardians of the Light, so nobody is going to switch onto you whenever you're doing Guardian Spirit on your target. So I think that is probably the meta in twos. So you guardian spirit your target and you will get it too. So you have some kinds of leeway and not dying whenever you're doing the wrong thing. Like let's say guardian spirit the DPS partner instead of just keeping it for in case they are switching onto you. So I feel like that's also a good interaction, a good talent to have, and also a choice that you can make and have impact. So that's also very, very fun. Just in general, you have the AoE side left. I think in RPGs it might be interesting to go for that because in RPGs, Holy Priests are notoriously not good. IMO they are usable, of course. In RPGs they are not really great compared to the AoE healers, but now you have a possibility to actually AoE heal through those talents and have some huge impact. I feel like Holy Priest, the only thing I might maybe say that is going to be harder than Disc Priest is you want to have pretty much every talent possible here. All the talents are looking great, like Pontifex, resonant words. So basically, that's your foresight, I think, which is quite nice. Um, you have also Lightwell, although I don't think it's very nice in PvP. But you have some great things like Lightweaver. You have Desperate Times. You have Light of the Naru with Harmonious Apparatus, which is a legendary, and you have also Divine Word, which could be nice with a Chastise Go with Smite and a Holy Fire, for example. So again, you have a lot of great talents, and you will have to make some tough choices. But all in all, I feel like that's a very good thing, and it will feel like a nerf overall because you don't have the legendary anymore with restitution. Either you're losing the PvP talent, either you're losing the legendary that makes you revive. But the more choices you have, the better. You have more agency. You can really build however you want the Holy Priest to be. So let's talk about Shadow. And Shadow is probably by itself a interesting spec. So if you want to play Shadow only and not discipline and holy, it is understandable and it is really doable. One thing you should note, Mindseer is now a legit finisher ability. So you have spenders and you have builders, right? So you build to get your spenders, and your spenders are going to do a lot of damage. Before you have Devouring Plague and only Devouring Plague, because Shadowlands you had only one spender and basically it was Devouring Plague. And so much damage it didn't really do. But now you have Mindseer, which is an AoE ability, so I think in RPGs it is going to be very great. In arenas, it will depend about the amount of CC you have and the amount of breakable CC you have. But I've tested in on single target. It is also very very nice to use. There is a talent called Encroaching Shadows, improving Devouring Plague initial damage by 75%. Still, its numbers are still going to be tuned, but it is made to make Devouring Plague actually a very good finisher, a very good spender. So by itself, you don't really need to use Mindseer all the time. You also don't need to really talent into it. But I feel like if you are doing RPGs, I think Mindseer will be probably better in team fights regardless. And I've tested the damage of Devouring Plague, I've tested Mindseer, and all in all, I feel like it's a very fun playstyle. And the good thing is, Shadows are going to actually enjoy their spec because there's a lot of choices to make. While in Shadowlands, I feel like everything was pretty set in stone. Not really now, since you have like a AoE spec. You have more of a mindbender spec if you really so desire. You can play around Idol of Yogg-Saron, which is actually hitting for so much. I feel like it's going to get nerfed in PvP whenever Dragonflight is going to come out. But basically, it does 20% of my damage on the dummy just by appearing once every 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. So it's quite crazy. The amount of damage it can do. Of course, it is lineable. Of course, it is CCable, but it is something that you can play around. Mind Spike coming back is also quite huge, and it improves your damage on Mind Blast and the critical strike chance, and also reducing the cast time. All in all, with multiple talents. And Might Spike, you can also proc it with, let's say, a Surge of Darkness, and it will do some crazy damage. I already hit for 16k, although I'm not really super well geared. 16k, while the Mind Blast was 13k. So you have a way to improve your Mind Spike damage. You also have a way to decide if you want to play more of a Void form spec or if you want to play more of a Dark Ascension spec. What is the difference? Void Eruption is more about the dots damage because it improves all the damage. It improves everything, and all in all, you will have a great time. With Dark Ascension, though, you're going to improve your non-periodic shadow damage. So Vampiring Touch and Shadow Word Pain are not going to be affected, but the initial damage of Devouring Plague, Mind Sear, Mind Spike, Mind Blast, Shadow Word Death, all those abilities are going to be improved. Mind Games as well. So everything you can actually put on the targets, like just initial damage, is going to be improved. Catharsis is also going to be improved. So you have a lot of great tools to decide how you want to play. Do you want to play more of a dot playstyle, more of a crit, big damage playstyle with Dark Ascension, or do you want to play more of an AoE playstyles for RPGs with Dark Apparatus and Shadow Crash, giving like Vampiric Touch on all the enemies, and then of course having your shadowy apparitions to actually do a lot of damage by itself passively. So you have a lot of great tools there and a lot of great choices. And the good thing is you can have pretty much 2 of those capstones at all times. I don't know if you can have more. I think you could, since you could do like, let's say 2 points here, 1 point there, 2 points here, 1 point there. So you have 5 points. No, you have 6 points. I don't think you can. I think you will have to sacrifice um 1 capstone out of the 3, 4 that you want. So you will have to choose 2 capstones. But I would, let's say, it's not a guide, of course, but I would play with Idol of Yoxiron because I did like how it felt, and I would play with Idol of Enzoth just because of the passive damage that it can give. And I think it's just fun to play around because you have also a Damnation or Void Torrent. Damnation is quite nice if you're playing, like, let's say, a Void Eruption build, or you can play Dark Ascension and then pop Void Torrent and do even more damage. So a lot of great things, right? And I don't know if you guys can feel with the videos I'm making, everything feels fun and everything feels like the design are there to please the player. So if you don't want to play dot based spec, you can still play Shadow Priest and you can still enjoy your time with instant initial damage playstyle. I don't know if it's going to be very viable. I don't know if the dot playstyle is going to be viable, but I think just in general, if you have the choice to make and tuning is there, and and Blizzard are actually trying to make every spec have more options in different sources of gameplay, so PvP, PvE, raiding, Mythic Plus, leveling, or whatever. I feel like it's going to be very good for the game and the health of the game. So let's recap a bit. Should you main Holy Priest? I think Holy Priest is a fantastic healer for people that are beginning with healing. I feel like if you like the healing aspect of World of Warcraft, I think Holy Priest is one of the best not basic of, like, it's for noobs, or it's boring. More basic, I mean, it's natural to heal with a Holy Priest. I feel like Holy Priest should be one of the mains that you're considering because I feel like it's very, very fun. You have multiple playstyles. You can do more aggressive. You can do more defensive. You have some great utility there. Should you play or main Shadow Priest, if you like warlocks like me, I really feel like Shadow Priest is going to be a very big contender to any warlock, any Shadow Priest out there. Um, I will say in Shadowlands it wasn't really fun. You were playing more of a support play style, a support caster, because by itself you couldn't really kill someone. Even in twos, it's difficult to play with a healer because you will lack the damage. But with those talents, you must be sure that people are going to actually consider you as a primary DPS. I feel like the damage just in theory, because it's still going to be, it can be nerfed, it can be changed, numbers can still change, but in theory, with if you're just reading the tooltips without the numbers, it feels okay. It feels like you're going to be able to be a primary DPS, a primary caster. And I feel like with the amount of CC you can have as a Shadow Priest, it is going to be very fun to actually play around with the comps. I feel like comps are going to be very different from Shadowlands in general. I feel like a lot of classes have more utility, more defensives, but also more ways to do damage. So I feel like the comps by itself are going to change. And I feel like Shadow Priest should be a big contender for you guys if you like caster gameplay. If you do not like caster gameplay, Shadow Priest might feel overwhelming because you do need to cast a lot. You are very immobile still. Do not think Shadow Priests are mobile. I would even say Warlocks are now the one of the most mobile casters, but Shadow Priests didn't really change on that department. So you will still struggle being the focus of the enemy team. People are just going to see the Shadow Priest and they are going to say focus the Shadow Priest and stay on the Shadow Priest. So if you like more of a mobile gameplay, I would not suggest Shadow Priest. If you do like the casters gameplay, the more immobile gameplay where you're doing some big damage whenever you're going to cast and be more utile for your comp, I feel like Shadow Priest should be one of your mains coming into Dragonflight. So thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Again, let me know what you think about the video in the comment section below. Again, I'm very happy for Dragonflight. I'm very happy with the amount of great things going on for Dragonflight, and the designs are really, really great. I'm thinking what classes are going to be actually bad in Dragonflight. I'm like really thinking, and I can maybe come up with one class, but that might be one of those future videos I'm going to talk about. But my next video will be Death Knights. So should you main Death Knights in World of Warcraft Dragonflight PvP? So thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Be sure to stay safe. We will catch each other very soon with the next video about DKs. And yeah, let's catch each other on the next video. Bye.